I want to get into finishing a series that I began about a month ago, July 4, 1776, preparing to cross the Jordan. All right? And each one of the series has a different subtitle. This one today is called God's Staging Grounds. God's Staging Ground. You know what a staging ground is? If you was in a band, you would know. They would tell you, we're going to meet you out on the field where we're going to do the staging. And the staging is how they set everything up, where you meet, where you stand, the equipment that you got to bring, or any refreshments they got to serve. If you're in a war, the staging is a lot more in-depth. It's where they're going to begin lining up all the military, the arsenals, the weapons, the supplies, the replacements, the boats, the ships, the tanks, the arsenals. But in God's holy word, there's a staging ground. So I'm going to talk about that today. Now, this is where we ended last week. Winston Churchill made the statement that helps us to understand where we are at this point in time. He said, now, this is not the end. This is when, right at the beginning of World War II. He said, it's not even the beginning of the end. He said, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. And that applies to us today, from what I'm understanding as we put all of these pieces of a puzzle together today, is that God has laid out what I'm calling today a staging ground, where He's finally brought the end to the beginning. And so as the children of Israel crossed the Jordan, their battles have just begun. They had a long way to go before it was over. And so it is with us today. The staging ground, 2020. Now, when I started putting this sermon together, what made me change the subtitle to the staging ground was this. So as I was looking for how to tell this story, because I found that sometimes the sermons for a new person are a little complex, trying to put all the pieces of a puzzle together for a prophecy. So I wanted to make this a little bit simpler, but yet still use all the puzzle to make sense of what's going on. So what is a staging ground? The staging ground says an otherwise staging point, a staging base, or staging point. And I read that and said, that tells me nothing. Think about it. There's the definition. It's a staging point, a base, or a post. So this is really what it is. It's a location where organisms, people, vehicles, equipment, or materials are assembled before